I am live here with the dudes from Vigilante 1939, where we are going to answer the age-old question, do you really want to taste it? We are talking about Peacemaker tonight, and much more. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guests. We have got the Knicks, as I like to call them, the Knicks from Chi-Town, from the tundra. It is a frozen day today, according to them. So let's just go around and have you introduce yourselves. We'll start with Mr. C, the dad of Twitter, the dad of fandom Twitter.
Dad of fandom.
Gosh, it's a pleasure to be here. I am Nick Caruso Jr., and I'm proud to be here with my two guys, man.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, roll, bro.
I'm his son. If that wasn't clear, if you don't know us, my name is Nick, but I go by Nico. It's Nikko, which is a very abnormal way to spell it. And honestly, happy to be here. It's not only cool that we've made friendships with so many great people. Josh is at the top of that list, and we're happy to be talking about something really cool, not only for what it was, but for what could be. So I'm very excited. Happy to be here.
Yes. And then, of course, we have Mr. Nick Zednick, Zeddy himself, the master of the puns, the connoisseur of everything Batman Beyond, Mr. Nick Zednick, ladies and gentlemen. He's
don't
here.
Say Batman Beyond. Don't say, that gets me all jazzed up. There you go. Josh, so happy to be here. Of course, I'm Nick Zednick. I know you all know that. You may know me from Zeddy. Zeddy is at some point. But most importantly, I'm the guy that tries to manhandle these two gentlemen below the screen here once a week, which is very, very hard to do, but I'm always glad to do it.
So you're the organizational brain behind the Vigilante 1939, Zeddy.
I am the Edward Nigma behind it all.
Oh, wow. Well, that's good to hear. It's a great show. If you haven't checked it out, if you've never watched the Vigilante do you guys have a video stream? Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, video stream. If you've never watched or listened to the Vigilante 1939, excellent most recent episode, by the way. Had a little bit of a listen, and we're continuing on a lot of the threads that we picked up on that you were talking about on your show. And you guys are you guys are everywhere right now. You're so you're ubiquitous in the fanboy podcasting space. You have your own show. You're on my show. You're doing your live stream with Tim and Carlos and the Nerd Room guys over there.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, you guys are just you guys are everywhere. Yeah, the tour of the Knicks. That's right. Yeah,
they don't say no.
We always give you an encore.
But it's nice to be asked, and it's a privilege, and it's great to interact with everybody. So it's just fantastic.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, hey, let's just dive right in. We're gonna start with our Into the Twitterverse topic, and I couldn't think of I could think of something more appropriate. We could talk about the Oscars, but I talked about that with JJ and Katie last week. I probably should have saved that topic for you guys. But seeing as my audience has already heard it, let's talk about Super Bowl. What is that? 56? Super Bowl 56.
56, right?
Yeah. Super Bowl LVI. Well, it was a very eventful game. We're not going to talk about the football itself for too long, as we know that sometimes that doesn't always cross over. But hey, every single one of our fandom friends seems to like football. So we will talk a little bit about it. And my question to you all is, did the NFL rig this game for the LA Rams?
Go ahead. You were there. Dude.
I'm going to say yes. So I was one of my best friends in the world and my college roommate. He's from Cincinnati. He lives here now, but he is from there. So we decided to get a bunch of us who went to college together. We drove down to Cincinnati to watch it in the city at this place he used to work at. There's probably about 150 Bengals fans in there. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, there were no flags the whole game until the last minute or so. There was a couple false starts and offsides that were not flagged. So the game felt like the Bengals, and then it felt like the NFL was trying to do whatever it could to give the Rams more chances. And it happened. That's my perspective.
Nah.
I've watched some pretty tough Chicago playoff losses, but I've never watched a Super Bowl loss come down to the wire like that. So the air was definitely sucked out of the room.
Yeah, see, I don't believe in any of that stuff. I've been watching sports for a long time. I don't believe that there's any kind of conspiracy theories with the leagues. First of all, if they wanted that, Patrick Mahomes would have been in the Super Bowl, because I guarantee they didn't want Cincinnati and the Rams. They wanted Kansas City and the Rams. And when you think about it, Cincinnati had an awful call go their way where basically the receiver threw the defender down on
That
the
was
ground.
that was a face mask.
And that goes for 7, So Josh, I don't think so. What I think you saw in the Super Bowl is mediocrity. And I think that there are no true powerhouse teams anymore. I think that maybe Brady had it a little bit last year with the Buccaneers, how they came on in the second half of the season and kind of, went through the playoffs and the Super Bowl. But I think this year, everybody really had a chance, from your 49ers to just about everybody, to I don't know how the Chiefs lost that game.
Yeah.
The previous week. I mean, there was no way they should have lost that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like Patrick Mahomes had one of the greatest halves ever as a quarterback in the first half, and he had arguably the worst ever in the second half. So I got it. That's a long way of saying it's just mediocrity, and fate just comes down to it. But I will agree, it was just weird how the refs made themselves. They shouldn't be mentioned in the game at all. And it was just weird how at the end,
flag after
their
flag.
presence was noted. But I don't think any of that would have mattered. I still think the Rams were going to score. And 4th and 1, I don't know. They call a pass play there, and they couldn't convert. So it is what it is.
They had 10 chances.
They did. They did.
Zeddy, what did you think of the game?
Game itself, I thought was okay. To be quite honest, I wouldn't necessarily say it might have been rigged. Predictable, I think, is the right word I would use. Because, I mean, okay, the game, you got this underdog that nobody had probably going to the Super Bowl. And then you have the Los Angeles Rams, another LA team that everybody wants to see in the championship game, right? So I would say, yeah, at a certain point, I'm like, man, the Bengals might actually upset here and win the Super Bowl, right? Yes. How's it going? And then, of course, you get this, Matthew Stafford's down. I wonder if he's out. Is this the end of the LA Rams as we see it? And then here's Matthew Stafford pulling his little Aaron Rodgers stunt, limping on one leg, going to be the hero of the game. And that's exactly what happened. So did I want to see the LA Rams win? No. But am I shocked that they probably won? No. But that's the NFL and that's sports. What do you?
And Joe Burrow went down too.
Yeah,
that was crazy. That was really crazy. Yeah, I think the best game of the postseason was the Bills Chiefs game. That was the absolute best. I texted my brother after that and I said, that is going to be that should have been the Super Bowl if it were possible to have 2 AFC teams play each other, and maybe they should figure out a way to do that, to get truly the 2 best teams to play against each other. But that was absolutely terrific game. I mean, that last, I think, 2 minutes into overtime was just out of this world, crazy.
And you feel for Buffalo, because I'm old enough to have witnessed the 4 Super Bowl losses in a row. They had some dynamic teams there in the late 80s and the early 90s with Jim Kelly. And they just couldn't get over the hump. They missed a field goal in that first one to the Giants, and then they got blown out. And believe it or not, they're a team that I was actually pulling for them.
So was I.
And helping them. That's a city that it's not used to championships, and it would have been nice. And listen, it wasn't just one of the great playoff games of this year. It's one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Really spectacular. The quarterback play of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in that final 5 minutes.
Unbelievable.
So
I'm not sure I've ever seen. I've seen, one guy do that, but not see 2 guys score as many points as they did. It was amazing.
Yeah, it really was. It was great. And I really enjoyed every moment of that game. And I agree, Josh Allen, like really it should have been, if we're going by the most like deserving teams, I feel like it should have been the Buffalo Bills, and whatever we think of his personality and his funniness, and it's your guys's division rival, but the Green Bay Packers. It should have been the Bills and the Packers if we were going by like the teams that should have gone, I feel.
You know, I don't want to bring up some bad news here, but I don't know if you guys caught him and Shailene Woodley broke up today.
No.
So
no.
I don't know if we should have a moment of silence or
couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Couldn't happen. Just stand up.
I'm not quite sure they were engaged in a little bit less than a year. It's over. It's finito.
You know, Aaron Rodgers just comes off as such a likable guy.
Yeah,
I can't believe that someone would break up with him. I mean, you know,
personality and
love is very fleeting, Josh. That's what I'm gonna tell you.
Well, before we lose all of our audience, we should probably move on. We can do a sports show another time.
Sure,
but
we'll do it one day, sure.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the commercials. And I want to ask you guys what your favorite fandom-y kind of commercial was, and what your favorite non-fandom commercial was.
My favorite non-fandom commercial was probably the Ewan McGregor one, because I thought an Obi-Wan trailer was coming later. So I was way more into him selling cars or whatever that commercial was. I also really liked the Zendaya one because I'm a big fan of hers. And I think the last couple of weeks, her performances on Euphoria in the last 2 episodes have been crazy good. So it was like cool to see her. My favorite fandom-y one was from Sam Raimi when I saw those words hit the screen.
Yeah, my fan one is I can't. I have to copy him. It was definitely Doctor Strange. But I really like the one with Scarlett Johansson and her husband. And I can't stand the husband. I'm not a big fan of him from Saturday Night Live. He's always kind of irritated me. Love her. Maybe it's jealousy too that he wound up with her. But I thought that was a really cute, funny commercial. She could read the thoughts or whatnot. So I really liked that. I thought that was really, really funny. Really good.
Yeah. What about you, Zeddy? What do you think?
Let's see. Non-fandom one. I actually really like the that Chevy commercial with the Sopranos homage. I thought that one was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. And then probably fandom. Well, yeah, man. I want to go 3 for 3 here, but it's hard not to say Doctor Strange too, because if you know, you know.
Yeah. We're gonna go 4 for 4 here because Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was definitely my favorite of the fandom-y ones. Some honorable mentions. The Lord of the Rings trailer looked really cool to me. Mr. C, I know that you weren't the biggest fan of it from your show, but I thought that was pretty cool. I'm very disappointed that the whatchamacallit, DC trailer they released on Friday didn't air during the game.
Yep.
And because they said that it would. So I wonder if it was like a pre-game thing or something like that, but it didn't air during the game, and that was very disappointing.
And The Rock was there.
I don't know if David Zaslav, I guess, before the pre-merger.
Yeah.
His kid and all that stuff that's going on. Maybe he says, wait a second here, we don't want you spending that kind of money or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I said on our show that with The Rock doing that really cool introduction, I thought it would have been really good to do that right before or right after he did that when it cuts to commercial. But it is what it is. You know, they don't like to participate, it seems, Warner Brothers. There was no Batman trailer either, right?
No. Before the Super Bowl, not during it.
Yeah.
No, and by the way, The Rock's intros The Rock needs to intro teams every single year. He did it. He did it 2 years ago when the Niners played the Chiefs.
Yes,
and that was floating around on social media. And I gotta tell you, as a Niners fan, I got goosebumps listening to that again. It was like so freaking epic. I was like, yes. But you know, obviously he did a great job again. Yeah, I know. It was disappointing to not see DC represented during the Super Bowl, seeing as there was such a Marvel presence. But that 60-second spot is so great.
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
fantastic.
I just got so it is like pure DC hope, like, and it's funny, even like the Batman, and I've got to tell you, I'm so excited for that film. I know you guys are getting to see it a day earlier than I am, which I'm like a little bitter about, but it's fine. But yeah, the I was listening to the theme, and it's just the theme is hopeful. There's like hope in the theme. And this is what I keep trying to say. If you don't know that Batman is hopeful, then you don't know the full scope of Batman. I mean, he's a great, yeah, he's a great character. But before we get too off topic, I want to talk about the most epic halftime show of all time. The greatest halftime show of all time. Now, I am an older millennial. I was born in 1987. So I've got to tell you, I was transported to high school when everything was playing. It was like, especially when 50 Cent and Eminem came on, I was like, man, this was what was, and Mary J. Blige, this is what was on the radio when I was a freshman in high school. I was so into it. And I saw all those hilarious memes that were floating around that were saying something to the extent of like, if you're excited by this Super Bowl lineup, you need to start looking into retirement plans or something like that. But I was really stoked. I saw Nico was also really excited about it. So
dude, I had a ball with it. So like Eminem was like a lot of these people, I was younger than you, but it was still cool to get into them as a kid because you were like looking up to them. And then I caught a lot of their tail and stuff as I was entering high school and stuff. But you always go back, and in college, actually, one of my other really good friends, he is a rapper himself, a hip hop artist. So him and I really bonded over this, and he would show me all the old stuff. So he expanded my love of hip hop and rap. Just the genre as a whole, but we both love Kendrick Lamar. So seeing him in there too with those legends, him being like the most, in my opinion, the best current rapper right now.
Yes, he was the most contemporary.
He was the most contemporary. So to see him weaved in with all them and playing two of my favorite songs for him too, and just the way they kept switching off and seeing Snoop up there and watching him hit the pen right before he got up there is just classic. It was a really good time, and I'm ready for more Super Bowl halftime shows to feature this genre because it is so big. I think we can move away, and maybe the older NFL fans, like you might not like this. That's not an insult, that's just a fact. Is like I'm ready to like move away from like the big pop artist or the big band who's been around for 40 years, even though I love both those. Yeah. And let's give something a little bit more electric. I loved The Weeknd last year, so I think we're moving towards that. Because man, it was just a good time. It was just a good time.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Mr. C.
For me, like it's weird because in the 90s, I had started a business, and I guess I was really into the Stone Temple Pilots and Soundgarden, and it just was never my genre, so I wasn't into that. But when I think of like halftime shows, like for me, I still think of Prince.
Yeah,
it was probably my favorite. And then I'm gonna be honest with you guys, because I know I'm the old guy in the room and stuff, and I know it is awkward, but I thought Bruno Mars.
Oh, his was great.
I thought it was great. So like in my memory, like I enjoyed this one, but I think those are the two that I felt like when they were over, I was just like, wow, those were like I thought I saw something really good, and I did enjoy The Weeknd.
Yeah,
I know people made fun of it last year and stuff, but I was surprised at how talented he was, and I didn't realize all the songs he had. But I can respect what they pulled. It was a nice generational type thing, and it was cool. What do we talk about? Nostalgia, right? I mean, that's what we're into this year. We just came off it with a big Spider-Man movie. We've got more coming, so I can appreciate that.
Most memeable halftime show ever was with The Weeknd's. I mean, it was so good. I will second your assessment that Prince's halftime show is the best of all time.
Never
When
seen
he
that.
started playing Purple Rain and it started raining,
Yeah.
Oh,
and that wasn't planned, that wasn't artificial. It was like it really started raining. That was so epic. It was so good.
The
And
game was bad though, Josh.
Because that's when the Bears lost
game
Super
was
Bowl.
bad.
Right?
Yeah.
The Bears lost.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh man. Who did they play that year?
The
Colts?
Indianapolis Colts beat them with Peyton Manning. It was probably the worst Super Bowl of all time. It was so like, I know people that were there and they said the second half was played in a driving rainstorm. And that's why I think
Peyton didn't even have a good
he didn't
game.
even have a good game, Peyton Manning. And I think the Bears, nobody could throw the ball. It was just awkward. I know friends that went down there and they were like, it was absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
Rex Grossman was not able to deliver the ball. You know, he couldn't do it when the weather was good and he couldn't do it in a driving rainstorm.
Yeah, oh man. Oh man. So Zeddy, do you have anything to add about the halftime show?
California love, baby. Wish I was in the Wild Wild West.
You know what? I was disappointed we didn't get the Tupac
I know.
hologram.
Oh,
That's what people thought.
That would have been the cherry on top, man.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. But you know, we can't have everything.
So
I think we should move on to our main topic. The reason that we're here, of course, is the latest what should we call it? The latest chapter in the epic that is the DC DC Extended Universe, DCEU, Peacemaker. This is a TV show written by James Gunn and mostly directed by James Gunn. It is a direct follow-up from his film, The Suicide Squad. And what I want to do is I just want to start, I did this last week with Book of Boba Fett. I just want to start with all of us kind of going around, giving our sort of general impressions of the show without spoilers. And then we will break off because I do not want a single DC fan to miss this show. If you're like listening in because you didn't watch it, because you're not like interested for whatever reason, no. You can listen to the next portion of the show and like our general impressions. But do not miss this show. You are robbing yourself. And I guess I'll just start because I've already begun. This show was absolutely terrific. Did it have some bumps along the way? Sure. Was it maybe an episode too long? Maybe. But it was, at the end, a really awesome show, a really terrific first foray into TV in this sort of world. And I've got to tell you, if DC is not planning on staying in the James Gunn business,
oh please,
if they're not planning on utilizing HBO Max more as a platform to showcase these characters with talented and gifted filmmakers, they are crazy, because that was they hit, like, if it wasn't a home run, it was like, you know, a 3 bases run in. It was pretty close to being absolutely phenomenal. So I want to hear what you guys have to say. So we'll start with Zeddy this time.
Yeah, so this one was pretty interesting because I know I was pretty vocal. I actually really like John Cena in the Suicide Squad. And, you know, I am somebody that grew up with WWE, so I'm very familiar that, yes, and you can actually see him this time in both these movies. I love how that joke now lands. That's amazing. So I knew that this guy is just booming with charisma. So when he was cast in the role, I'm like, okay, so he's another WWE star that we're trying to make famous. The Rock just got cast as Black Adam. We don't know what he's going to do because we haven't really seen his sample size yet. But here's John Cena in this small role in the Suicide Squad. I thought he did pretty good. And then immediately he gets like his own series greenlight, right? And then you find out that James Gunn is going to write and direct most of the episodes, which I think he's doing all of season 2. So that's awesome. And overall, yeah, man. I mean, I thought it was an awesome, just let loose, fun, wampus DC show. And it really was let loose. I think that's probably the best word to describe it. I mean, it's not shortage on the crude jokes, It's not shortage on the violence. It's very violent. And overall, yeah, you're getting more John Cena acting than you ever had before. And I think my impression is that I'm ready to see more of this guy. We're not going to go that far into spoilers yet, but I wouldn't mind seeing him with some other people, maybe outside of Task Force X. but we'll get there. So yeah, I had a really, really great time with this thing, and massive win for HBO Max, which is exactly what they needed.
Yeah. I love the Suicide Squad. John Cena was probably my least favorite part of the Suicide Squad. So I went into the show lukewarm. I gotta tell you, man, I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. I can never doubt James Gunn. I always do. I'm always putting him to the test, but I know he's going to come through with his humor, with the heart, with the emotion. It's just beautiful. From what I'm hearing, we'll talk about, it looks like he's here to stay. It looks like there might be not only season 2, another spinoff, but the cast, the story was the story, but the cast was brilliant. Everybody had their moment to shine, but John Cena solidified himself in my mind as someone who is not only bigger than the show, than the role, as somebody that could command and carry some motion pictures here. Having said that, he owns this role. He's going to play it for a long time to come. And like Zeddy said, I think we're going to see him weave in and out of some stuff. So, Josh, it was fantastic. I loved every minute of it. You're right. Episode too long, few bumps, but that's nitpicking, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
For me, just like the soundtrack, it is a really solid 80s rock album.
Yeah.
And here's what I mean by that. Do those 80s rock albums have the most incredible philosophical lyrics? No. But man, they are fun, pedal to the metal, start to finish. Maybe a bump, a song that's not as good. Maybe a chorus that's not as memorable. But when you look at the whole thing, I go, yeah, I'm going to throw that on every time I get in the car. This was so much fun every Thursday, Friday to watch. I liked John Cena and the Suicide Squad a lot. I was very cautiously approaching the show because I'm like, okay, I still don't get why we picked him out of everyone. And it's a stroke of genius from James Gunn. Like the fact that we took this character Peacemaker and really fleshed him out in a believable way. I think everyone's concern was, okay, with his actions in the film, how are we going to care in here? And James Gunn is a master when it comes to characters. He really is. And not just John Cena, the whole cast. This is an album that I'll throw on at any time I'm in the car, and I'm already excited to go back and rewatch it all at once and see if that makes the album even cooler.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a couple of things that I was just thinking about. I think the brilliance of the show is that it takes a lot of beats from being a workplace comedy. And I think that is quite brilliant, actually, because it allowed, look, one thing that I have to say about to Warner Brothers is if they're going to commit to making HBO Max a platform for this kind of stuff and doing TV shows, they need to give the TV shows and doing stuff within the cinematic universe. They need to give the TV shows cinematic universe budget, right? The difference between this and like the Marvel, the MCU, is that those shows have like feature film budgets. And the Star Wars shows have feature film budgets. And Jon Favreau is doing a lot of innovation to make it affordable to do that kind of stuff. So that's one thing that I would say that Warner Brothers should do. That being said, I think James Gunn, realizing, hey, I'm not going to have as big of a budget for this as I am for the film, very smartly turned it into sort of like, it's kind of like The Office in a weird way. It's got a lot of the same similar like beats as The Office. It's just missing the on-camera interviews, and it's got very similar kind of characters and all. I mean, Vigilante is like a wacky kind of sitcom character. So I thought that was a really, really smart move on their part.
100%, man. And you look at this episode like Economos, like that little eulogy, that little self thing at the end there. Like who sees that coming?
Yeah.
And it was just like, that's the thing, Josh, about James Gunn, where he just knows human emotion. That sounds weird to say because obviously all these writers but he just knows how to connect
Yeah.
with all of us, right? With all of our insecurities and what we worry about. And he's able to do it in this grand story and involve every aspect of what's rotten about human beings and what's great about human beings. And he somehow weaves it into this beautiful story. Look at Jen Holland Harcourt, how great she was, right?
Yes.
She starts out and you're like, she's this beautiful woman. How interesting is she going to be or whatever? Are you going to care about her? She's very tough, her exterior. And she winds up being like the very, like, I don't know, soul of the show. Just
yes, absolutely.
And they all had their time. It was amazing. The only character that I'm still a little bit on the fence about is Vigilante.
Yeah.
I was like in and out with him.
Mhm.
And it's a weird thing because you said a great thing on our show. Like, I would like to talk to him, and maybe Josh, you analyze these shows a little more. I was just trying to figure out, like you said, maybe there's nothing to figure out about him, right?
Yeah.
It's just that guy that in the show that just there's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, he's the Rainn Wilson character. Of the show.
yes.
There you go. Like, you never know what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
inappropriate. It doesn't make
Mhm.
sense.
He's like a psychopathic murderous Dwight Schrute.
There you
If that's the perfect description. And for me too, Josh, like what you just brought up is, I think that's a brilliant point. I haven't seen anyone say it, and I'm so glad you brought it up. Is James Gunn realized that it was on TV, and he really played to his strength this time, which is the characters, right?
Mhm.
And if you go back to both Guardians films and even the Suicide Squad, he does an excellent job at bringing these characters together and forming this camaraderie, and then making you care about almost every single one. And where the show at times, maybe plot wise or humor wise, stumbled for me, he always, and this goes for every project he does, he always delivers on the emotion. And I don't know how he does it. It almost pisses me off because right when I started to get annoyed with some things on the show slightly, episode 7 and 8, he hits you with a sledgehammer. You care. Remember, you care. I'm going to make you care. And the things you were worried about, it's so impressive. Even like the death scene of Mern's butterfly was so emotional. And
It
you
was.
didn't see the butterfly that much, but because he made you care about Mern with the monologue earlier, and then when you watch it die, you're feeling that whole story as it's reaching towards Harcourt's finger, and it's like, wow, I don't know how he does it.
Well, before we go any further, let's put the spoiler warning on.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad.
It's okay. It's all right. It's fine. So from this point on, you've been spoiled already a little bit. It's not that big of a plot point. You can see it coming. But from this point on, we are going to talk about spoilers. So once again, if our endorsements weren't enough for you, let's see what some of the comments are saying. Let's see here. This is from Chris Evans. More Harcourt, less Vigilante.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
Thank you, Chris Evans. Yes. Turn around now. Watch the show. Do yourself a favor. Watch the first 3 episodes. Give yourself that much and turn off the show because we are going to talk about spoilers. You can come back and listen to the rest later. Okay. Spoiler talk now. Where should we start on this? Should we talk about the most spoilerific thing in the show? Which is that let's talk about the story implications for the DCEU. The fallout of this show, what it's going to mean, and then we can talk about that big cameo. So we'll start with the story implications for the DCEU. So Adebayo, who is the daughter of Amanda Waller, basically outs Amanda Waller and Belle Rev prison. Is it Belle Reeve or Belle Rev?
Belle Reeve.
Belle Reeve.
It all works. It all works.
It all works.
Whatever you want to say.
It's kind of like Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul.
There you go.
They're both used. It's
right.
Ra's al Ghul. I think it's Ra's al Ghul, but
So do I.
But yes. So Adebayo exposes her mother, exposes Task Force X. That is a big deal, right?
Huge. It's a huge deal.
It's the thing I love about that choice is
Mm.
the MCU shows outside of Loki and I guess WandaVision, but the one like you know the movie's coming, so that's where this happens. But the MCU shows are mostly self-contained, right? This show not only ends this story and sets up a season 2, it sets up like anything your mind can think of regarding Amanda Waller and this world that he really fleshes out the DC world well in this show too, in just lines and set pieces. Like he's showing you that this world is very lived in at this point compared to how it began with Man of Steel. So there is so much where this can go. And man, I love the idea of Waller being exposed because it also make the potential next Suicide Squad story more interesting because they're outed. So the ones who have served on Task Force X and got away, are there repercussions for them? Are they going to be coming after Deadshot, Bloodsport, Ratcatcher, King Shark, Harley? Is there going to be a new team that's the Task Force Z to kill Task Force X to shut the Secret Six to maybe shut down the Justice League? We also think who called them? Did Amanda Waller call them? How much power does she have in this world? I mean, it's Viola Davis, so she rules the world. But man, yeah, there's massive implications.
So much for the DCEU and no continuity, huh? I mean, this guy called out Green Arrow.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a Green Arrow somewhere in this, and this is all canon. Everything they talked about, Kite Man. I mean, literally, this guy of all the Zack Snyder stuff of everything, this one had everything in it. There was not a hero that they didn't reference. They're almost every villain they referenced, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think Oliver Queen is going to be the love interest in the Black Canary movie.
I hope so,
100%.
Cool.
I do too. And so that's the great thing about it is just it just he connected, like he gave you more DC Easter eggs than anything we've kind of seen, and just the references of what, like Nick said, like my mind is like, because we're hearing about all these self-contained movies and stories, and there's all this argument in fandom is with Snyder, this or that, but it makes me feel good today. As great as the show was, that was number one. That was the most important. But the fact that these possibilities now, like me and him were talking all day today at work. He's at work, I'm at work in the car. We're like, what does this mean? I'm like, and we'll get into that last thing after Sunny Talks, but it's like everything's open now. Everything's a possibility. It's like, it's just great. It's and at the end of the day, like, I could be pessimistic and say maybe it's just nothing, it's that, but I don't think so, man. I think the creative juices are flowing, and James Gunn, I give him the keys to just more than a little niche.
Yeah.
You can almost be like Kevin Feige, if you will, a little bit. Because he can do Guardians and tell a family story. He could do this crude like Suicide Squad. Somehow he could weave all these things together and make it work. That's my own opinion.
Yeah, I thought what was extremely interesting is, it would have been another story of Amanda Waller putting together another Task Force X for another mission and stuff. We've seen that twice already. So exposing the program, exposing Waller, exposing Task Force X opens up for really exciting story possibilities. And I think James Gunn, I don't think this is by accident. I think that he's setting up his next Suicide Squad film. And it's going to be really interesting. And, a few months ago, I would have said, maybe the Suicide Squad, maybe it's something they're going to put on the back burner because of, the box office was soft. I mean, it came out at the height of Warner Brothers has just been having horrible luck. Yeah. I mean, terrible luck. Yeah. I mean, the Suicide Squad was released at the height of the Delta variant. It was just like not a good time, but it didn't do bonkers box office. But I think with Peacemaker being as successful it was, it's by some measurements the most streamed television show at the moment. Yeah. Didn't it beat the Book of Boba Fett some weeks in streaming?
It did.
And so so I think with that, and then also the Suicide Squad is on HBO Max. So, you'll have some people going back and watching the Suicide Squad. There's talk of there's going to be season 2. There's talk of spin-offs. So I think there's going to be this buildup on HBO Max, and I think there will be another Suicide Squad film.
I hope so.
With James Gunn back, and it'll kind of be like the coming back together of the band. It'll be new D-list heroes with some returning ones. I wouldn't be shocked at all, by the way, if we see a Harley Quinn project on HBO Max with
love that.
with James Gunn. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that he loves that character, and him and Margot seem to have a really great working chemistry together.
Yeah.
But Zeddy, what did you think of the revelations of the outing of Task Force X and Amanda Waller?
Did not see it coming. Gotta be honest with you. Okay, yeah. So I see. This is where I want to be a little different here, because I mean, it's no surprise. For me, the first Suicide Squad movie is my least favorite DCU movie. So when they made the second movie, I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot because James Gunn's directing it, but my expectations a little bit low. Ended up really loving it, and then here's this show that I didn't think was gonna have any really major implications. So long story short, yeah. So now Suicide Squad's outed. The whole Task Force X thing is outed. So I'm wondering if this was a way to just get rid of the Suicide Squad as a whole, and maybe move something more lines of like Checkmate, because that is something that I can see, especially with rumors of like Michael Keaton's Batman being carried over. I could totally see this new dynamic of this older Batman finds out about Checkmate, and you get this cool new dynamic of Keaton, with Waller, and discovering all these villains and these heroes, and Checkmate's a big storyline. Or we could be wrong, and maybe we do get another Suicide Squad movie, but it's one of you guys said, and I think it's a great idea. It's taking cues from like the Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League game, where it's maybe like Secret Six versus the Suicide Squad, or it's a spin on Justice League and the Suicide Squad, something together. Me personally, I don't think we're just gonna get a standalone Suicide Squad movie. If we do get it, I think it's gonna be like a combination of something else. But I could be wrong. And if James Gunn does want to do another movie full of D and F level characters, let him do it. Let him do it, because I think he's proven that he can handle it. He knows characters. So yeah, but all in all, I'm pretty intrigued of what the future can hold, because at the moment, I think there's a lot of really, really cool things that he teased that I think we don't know quite yet. And that's cool.
Man, Keaton's Batman talking to Waller sounds cool.
Oh, yeah. I was just about to say, we have to get a scene with Michael Keaton and Amanda Waller.
That would be fire.
Oh my goodness. I think that this film is my feeling is that it's sort of set in, like, I think that James Gunn kind of, obviously James Gunn knows what's happening in the DC universe, like, in the future, but I think that this film is kind of set up in that future. Like, I think Michael Keaton's Batman in this, like, I think this is gonna stand up against the Flash when the Flash changes the continuity. This is going to, I mean, granted, not everybody sorry, I'm spilling all the secrets. So I mean, we are talking spoilers. The rumor is, and by the way, I don't know this for sure, but all indicators seem to point to that the Flash is going to rewrite reality, and that Michael Keaton's Batman is going to be the Batman of this universe moving forward. He's going to be an amalgamation of the Batman from Batman and Batman Returns and the DCU Batman, because his James Gordon post Flash is going to be J.K. Simmons. So it's very interesting. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's so interesting because you're right, the Flash is going to change a lot. But I am wondering what they're keeping, because this world, it does say the show does take place in 2022 or 2021. And like Aquaman has his orange costume. So this Justice League has been working together for a while. These villains, these characters, Amanda Waller, Harley Quinn, etc., have now existed for a while. So However the Flash plays out, you're still going to have these ongoing characters with some form, with some shred of their past reality. So it's, man, it will really be interesting. But I do think James Gunn is aware of that. I would be shocked if he wasn't, because to get into a little bit more spoilers, there's a great interview with him from Variety today. And they asked about the cameos of the Justice League. We'll just put it out there.
Let's put it out there. Yeah.
And they did ask you know, why was Batman and Cyborg not present? And he, you know how like in the writing, they try to transcribe it like they're talking. So he kind of talks and he catches himself. And he basically goes, I don't know what I can say. There's reasons. I'm not sure if I could say those reasons, but it probably has to do something with the future. Meaning, you know, for a fact, those two characters, for different reasons, or at least those two actors, are done.
Yeah.
One of them, as long as Hamada's there, and the other one done altogether. So insert Keaton and then whoever else they want to bring in. So my mind is Zach Justin Fields greater than both. I'm just kidding. But so just the fact that that's now a possibility is interesting, because they did keep Superman, they did show the Flash and Aquaman, and then Wonder Woman was there too. And we know Gal's coming back. We know Ezra and Jason are coming back. Superman still up in the air, but the fact that Warner's didn't say you can't use him is also very interesting. So who knows? But I would like to think he's playing coy there, and he does know what the reset's going to be, because whatever he does is going to take place after this, I assume.
Well, Batfleck and Keaton have very distinct silhouettes, right? I mean, it's like this. I mean, because there's no reason why they couldn't have thrown somebody into the Batfleck suit and thrown him on the set, you know?
Yeah.
So the fact that they didn't include them makes me think that they don't want the audience to be confused upon future watches. So they included the 4 members that are going to be around. And by the way, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I was stoked when I saw the silhouettes of all the characters. But then when Jason Momoa actually came on the screen, I was like, this is amazing. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then that joke paying off.
Brilliant.
And you know what? It's funny because a lot of people are like, this is disgraceful. Making that joke about Aquaman using the F word. And I'm like, you know what? It's like, here's the thing. And James Gunn explained this perfectly well. DC has such a wide breadth of like different kinds of things and characters appearing in different kinds of things. I mean, you guys are comic book readers, so you know when Batman appears in the Harley Quinn book, he comes off very differently than he does in the Batman book. And speaking of, Batman is played differently in Detective Comics and Batman. He's played differently in those 2 books and a Batman Superman title and Justice League. So all of these things are going to have varied tones, and I did not mind that that Aquaman, used the language he did and played into the jokes. I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, look, I'm a huge fan of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and we all know that Cyborg utters words in there, Batman. So for anybody to get upset about that it's not. You're right. It's trite. It's ridiculous. I thought like the interaction between him and Barry, like they're best friends that just sit around and joke together. It's beautiful. Like I want to see the history. I want to see more of those guys. Like I'm one of those guys that is still hoping at some point it all builds up to some other Justice League movie or some amalgamation with Black Adam. Because look, if Harcourt, and we're jumping the gun here, if she's going to be in Black Adam, again, this James Gunn is creating it. It's all connecting. And I know a lot of our guys, like, they don't think the public likes connecting, but they do.
They do.
Like the MCU. Now, DC and Warner Brothers maybe will never connect on that level, but just the fact that it might happen with all these name drops and with the 4 characters we saw. The only thing I told Nick was, I still the Superman thing still I just don't get it. Like for them to do that. And I'm just not sure. You got two camps, the ones that are optimistic and think it means something, and then you got me who's still a little pessimistic and is like, I'm not so sure. I don't know.
To comment on that. So first of all, I want FU Barry on a shirt. Like that was the funniest. Listen, I caught myself.
Okay.
I'm gonna say what I said on Twitter in response to a thread is like, sure, like I get not wanting these characters to swear and stuff. I get it, but this is a rated R show, so you can keep certain audiences away from it. They can't watch it, whatever. But first of all, with the way this Aquaman is, like physically and how he is, like the rough kind of rock and roll version.
He's Jason Momoa.
Of the
Jason
six
Momoa,
members
right?
of the league, he's the one I would believe to swear, right?
Yeah.
As for the joke, it's a joke. I don't think it ruins Aquaman. I think the coolest nature of it, and here's the number one thing I loved about the show is if this world were real, right? If this world was real, yes, I agree. If this world was real, like our world, what do we do to celebrities? We rip screw that Pete Davidson.
Yeah,
stupid,
right.
You would think villains and other characters are like Aquaman. He probably with fish. Like it's funny.
Yeah.
It's what these characters like. The other great line is Chris calling Batman the P word because he won't kill. Like that's hilarious. Of course, villains think that way,
dialogue
right?
was hilarious.
It's just natural. It makes the world feel more like ours.
Yep.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And then just the delivery of those two guys is so funny.
And again, the camera work on that scene was very Veep. Very Veep or The Office or, I just thought that was brilliant.
Here's the only thing, and I want to throw this to Zeddy because we have not talked about this yet. As much as I like it, and this doesn't change how I feel about the cameo scene, is I am getting a little tired of the silhouette / headless Superman cameo. I'm like, can we just finally double down and just say what he is? Or say there's no deal yet, or say he might appear in something. My only optimistic guess is they want to save it for this big, crazy Black Adam reveal because The Rock is a showman, and he's like, no, I get to do that in my movie. But the second time to just be like, that's him, but it's not, is like, can somebody just give it? Can someone just give it to us? Like, what is
great
it?
Mystery of the world.
I'm tired of the mystery. I hope this mystery has a great payoff because if he is erased in the Flash, I'm going to be like, then maybe they just should have used Jason and Ezra then. To just be like, hey, you're going to see these two in the near future. That's why we put them in. I don't know. Zeddy, what is your thoughts on the 2 for 2? It is, but it isn't.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, the cameos itself. Yeah, there's no other word to describe it. They were awesome. I mean, that's just is what it is. Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting too, because obviously, Ezra and Jason are the most visible ones there. Right. And, before I get on to my little Superman soliloquy here, just shout out to Ezra yet again, man. I mean, he's a fan. I mean, I think it's awesome that, he decided to be in the Flash TV show and he's going to be in this show too, keeping him in the public eye. That's smart. I mean, he's arguably in the biggest DC movie they're probably ever going to do in recent memory with the Flash. And then here's Jason Momoa, another big movie coming out this year. Let's keep him in the public eye. I think that was smart. Wonder Woman, yeah, you notice her, but not really. That's kind of up in the air. Probably just a stand-in, right? Which is fine.
I think Gal Gadot was pregnant during the filming of this show.
Yeah. So, but that's still cool. You're in your head. You can say like, oh, cool, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman was in this show, right? So, and then there's the ambiguous cameo here. So obviously with Shazam, Headless Superman, but at least you found out that it was going to be Cavill. They just couldn't come into an agreement, right? So that's why I still think they shouldn't have done that cameo, but it is what it is, and I've come to live with it. So obviously this one, it's clear that that's supposed to be Henry Cavill's Superman, but they don't show him. And where I might have doubled down on that, because Nico just said it beautifully, is if he is still Superman, if there's any inkling that he's gonna be Superman, I would have just tried to get Henry Cavill in that scene. Because like you said, because the more you're doubling down on it, imagine the good faith that would have just restored. Even if it was just for 1 second. If you would have just saw Henry Cavill's face. Imagine the praise that you would have felt as a DC
just
fan.
like imagine how that scene would have played out. I was talking to you like if in a perfect world you did get Henry and Gal, like after Aquaman says F you Barry and he laughs, you could have like Henry going, he's sensitive like with that topic, and Gal be like, Arthur, it's okay, and let people talk. Like
They would have been. They would have broke.
Yeah.
They would have owned the internet till the Batman came out for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was really awesome enough.
Yeah.
Tell me, guys. Josh, tell me, Josh. The three of them are fine. Why did Warner Brothers not say no to putting the Superman floating in there? Josh,
because there will be Clark Kent Superman will be in the DCEU in one form or another at some point.
Yeah.
Again, what that form looks like,
we don't know.
is anyone's guess. Look, I am still pretty optimistic that I'm in the optimistic camp. That I believe Henry Cavill will eventually return. There are a bunch of indicators, I think, for it. Although I will say, and I had heard that there was rumblings that Henry Cavill would return. And the same person who told me this told me that the Ta-Nehisi Coates J.J. Abrams project was not in continuity with the DCEU before that was revealed by the trades. So that's why I put some stock in it.
Cool.
Now, that being said, the Twitter insider I follow, DC Films Gal, came out with this really cryptic tweet. She retweeted a photo of this tweet from the scooper claiming that, he's heard that Superman's going to be in Black Adam and The Flash this year, and played by Henry Cavill. And man, Warner Brothers must really be feeling the pressure. And she responded with, "We ain't feeling anything," basically. And it was kind of like, I was like, whoa, like what's going on here? And then she responded to somebody else who asked, like, we're not feeling pressure about anything. So that's not saying yes or no. It's saying we're not, but it does put a question, right? It's like, okay, it's kind of cryptic, And I've always said, look, I mean, there's all this talk. There's going to be a Val Zod thing, and Warner Brothers. So, and Chris Evans is pointing out, she followed up by saying there's a plan in place, and she did. Warner Brothers is doing a Val Zod thing with Michael B. Jordan that I'm really excited for. I think is going to be really cool, and all that sort of thing. But, regardless of whether he's played by a Caucasian actor or a black actor, I think Clark Kent needs to be Superman in the DC universe continuity. And they need to do Clark Kent right. They need to do it right. And so, we hear all this talk about the takes. We should do a take on Superman, or someone's doing a take on Superman. It's like, I know that a director is going to have a vision, and they're going to come in and they're going to want to do the film they want to do it. But Superman is a great character on his own. We don't need a take on Superman. We need Superman adapted well. And quite frankly, that hasn't been done the last couple of times. It's almost gotten there. Brandon Routh was almost a great Superman, but, we were missing some action. Warner Brothers got that feedback, and then they went a little crazy and Man of Steel, particularly the last third of it. And then Zack Snyder I think Zack Snyder understands Superman. I really do. I think he gets the character, but he was kind of doing an Elseworlds deconstruction of the character rather than presenting the character well. So My solution is, if Warner Brothers and Cavill can't come to a solution, we have The Flash coming out. That's going to shift continuity. That's going to merge universes. My solution is take Superman and Lois out of the DCCW universe and put it in the DCEU and make Tyler and Bitsy
Totally. Yeah.
the Superman and Lois of the DCEU, and then move the show from CW to HBO Max, give it a bigger budget, get Gal Gadot to come in and do a cameo, get, all of that sort of thing. It can kind of become like the regular sequences, and then of course Tyler can appear in Justice League films, etc., as the character.
I'm cool with that at this point.
As long as they get rid of the kids.
No.
You can't bring
We've
the
seen
kids
about a
with,
lot
man.
more of them.
Yeah.
Those kids on any budget, I don't care how big the budget, that storyline has got to go.
Oh.
It works. I'm digging the show. It works there.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that, crossing over to that part of it. That's the only thing that bothers me, because I've said, as we've been watching the show and really getting into it this year, that Tyler Hoechlin, man, and again, maybe it's because he's on that show and people won't see it. He could be a big screen Superman.
Oh yeah.
Could
Yeah.
be.
Oh yeah.
With the
I
right
think so.
material, a better budget, just up it a little bit, which I think he can do. I think he can up his acting game just a little bit. I think he could stand toe to toe with those people. I think he would look perfect with them. And
Bitsy
looks
Tulloch
great in
is
the show. Oh, she's fantastic.
Oh,
she's great as Lois.
Yeah.
She's not the issue. She can step right in there
Yeah.
and do it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
totally. And there's even a role they could even do something really cool with Melissa Benoist. Or is that how you say her last name?
Yeah, sure. Melissa Benoist. Yep.
Melissa Benoist. So Sasha Calle. Yeah, she's obviously playing Superman or Supergirl in the DCEU moving forward. And if they were to do this merger, I assume she would continue to play Supergirl. So what happens to the Superman continuity of the DCCW? Well, you could have Melissa Benoist be a refugee from that universe and start going by Power Girl in the DCEU.
That would be wild.
And have her in the show.
That'd be interesting.
Oh, that would be cool.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
And have her adopt.
I think the wild card in all this too is Black Adam.
Yeah.
Because obviously with Harcourt being in there, these characters are all in the same universe. We were talking and speculating. I still think they have that girl said they have a plan. I think there is this plan either with kind of the War of the Gods or an adaptation of Crisis, where I still think they're looking to do something along the lines of an Endgame, Infinity War.
Sure.
Obviously, they know they may not ever reach those heights or whatever, but I still feel like while they've got Gal and while they've got Jason around for the next 5 to 7 years, let's say, maybe committed to play these roles, and then bringing in some other people, bringing in Keaton. He's not getting any younger.
Yeah.
You got to utilize him a lot as much as you can, for the next 5 to 6 years. Josh, I see that because I don't care what anybody says. I think they want a home run with some kind of a team up movie. And they haven't had it.
Yeah.
They haven't had it with the Suicide Squad. They certainly didn't have it with the Justice League, right? They didn't have it with Batman and Superman. I mean, their success comes with the solo films. They have not hit a home run yet with a team up movie. And I think that's in their crossfire and they want to do it. I think that's
Absolutely. Yeah. I 100% agree. And I think that there's definitely a lot of potential for DC on film and on TV in the future, which brings me to, I want to just talk. I mean, obviously we loved Peacemaker. Well, before we talk about the future, let's just we could talk about our favorite moments on the show. Favorite moments of the show. So we'll start with Zeddy. Zeddy, what was your favorite moment of the Peacemaker show?
Okay, so I hope this isn't a cheat, and this is probably a corny answer, but those opening credits, come on, man.
Oh,
Like, come on.
Yeah.
how
it's
did
not-
we
Come
go
on.
this far in the podcast without
Come
mentioning
on.
those
Talk
opening
about it.
credits?
Is that not just like one of the greatest things you've just ever seen? Like, come on, man.
Oh
Like
my
how,
gosh.
like Nico said it on our show, like how he got all of those people to like do that is probably more impressive than the whole choreography itself. But yes, and if you skip that intro, shame on you. You're an evil person. Because I did not do that one time. But yeah, I'd say that one. And then obviously, I think for me, one of probably my favorite moment is maybe Cena's defining moment of the show, maybe where he kills his dad, and you literally see the emotion just coming out of John Cena, because that was the moment where you're like, he is an actual character now. You know, like I think we just throw the word character out, but I think the purpose of this show was to make Peacemaker an actual character. And I think for me, that was his defining moment. And so I'd say if I had to do a moment from the show, that one, but overall, come on, those opening credits were the best thing for 8 weeks, and we all know.
I tweeted, I will not be skipping this, or the number of times I will be skipping this opening credit scene, and it was a GIF of a guy going zero. Like zero.
You can't.
Yeah. So I lived up to my promise. I did not skip the credits once, even when I was in a rush this morning watching it before I headed to work, because I knew everything would be spoiled on Twitter. So I did it before I went to work. But what did the Caruso clan think of? What was your favorite moment of the show?
I've got one, but I will say this, that I really enjoyed the moments where Cena was alone and in reflection, in the flashbacks, and then when he would come back, and like just him coming to terms, feeling like a failure. I was so impressed with his acting, with his conveying of emotion. But I gotta be honest, man, I love the episode today. When is her name Annie Chung or Chang, or who played
who played
the agent?
cop?
Yeah. When at the end, and she's pouring her heart out as Goff and telling him about why they're here. We as humans are destroying our planet, and you're looking at him and he's flashing back, and you're like, what is he gonna do? And then he just blows her away. It was great. And then when he's in reflection with Abadayu, and he's like, did I just kill the world? And she's like, you gave everybody a chance to make their own decision, but what I come away most from this show is really, I could not believe that I care about this character. I saw him kill Rick Flag, and how in the world was I going to root for this guy? And I always say on our show, when we ever see these movies, these shows, like, what's the purpose of them? Like, what the fact that he was able to redeem him and I'm able to care about him going forward is a massive home run for me.
For me, I mean, there's so many, but whenever I answer a question like this, I always just have to pick the one that hit. And because of those opening credits, how they were a non-skip for 8 weeks, we were the same way. When Do You Want to Taste It kicks in this final episode, when they go to fight, you know, Chris, Harcourt, and Vigilante, because you think it's just going to be playing in the credits. So to hear it again, and just the way that whole scene plays out, because it also feels like a final stand. You know what I mean? And just the camera work. It was like I stood up. I'm like, oh, here comes the sun. Like, and it almost brings the show full circle to that silly, how it's such a silly intro it's played over. And then it's played in the most climactic moments of the entire show, their final stand. And then you see Harcourt and Vigilante start getting hit, and you're like, oh, and then the scene starts carrying emotionally. So that was like the big rah-rah, we're in the finale, let's win this war type of thing. I thought it was perfect timing, perfect placement.
I think for me, the moments that I loved in the show were the moments of levity. So when they're all rocking in the car, that was great, including Eagly.
The goat.
James Gunn is so great with animals. He's like he just makes like such great animal characters. Yeah, I loved those little moments, and I agree with you, Mr. C. I really was surprised at how like the moments where Chris is alone and with himself, how poignant those moments
Yeah.
are. And it's almost like James Gunn wrote it in a way that you kind of can feel what he's kind of contemplating and feeling and thinking. And it's great. I mean, look, Peacemaker is like really like the sort of emblematic of the meatheads of society, right? He's
100%.
he's
That's
kind
well
of like,
said.
I mean, even down to like believing internet rumors about superheroes.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
right.
so funny.
Facebook, I
Like
heard
all the like, you know, and it just reminded me of all the weird conspiracy theories
Yeah.
that play out on social media in real
Right.
life too, you know, and all that sort of thing. And it's like, it's so easy for those of us. I mean, you guys live in the Chicago area. I live in the greater Los Angeles area. It's so easy for us from cities to look at people like that and despise them. But
Oh.
like James Gunn did such a great job of making us care about a guy like this and like actually trying to understand where he came from, you know, and like how he's feeling. And so I really like that. I really enjoyed that, and it made me think a lot. It made me like evaluate kind of my own biases and things that I do, and I really appreciated that about the show. So
100%, man. You're right about those moments of levity, and some of them are so meta too, where they're so funny. Oh man, he's a master of
He really is, man.
Of this craft.
Yep.
yeah. I'm not going to talk too much about what it was, but that moment where Adebayo's on her iPad and she flashes to a picture on her iPad. That's really embarrassing. That was so hilarious. It was like out of nowhere. It was moments like that just like James Gunn is just a master of pulling off. Like it's just so funny.
And then shout out to Judo Master, who's still not dead.
Oh my god.
He became a joke in and of itself, to where he just started like he would just keep popping up and he would never die. And now he's still alive at the end. Like
Ding dong.
Be this thorn going forward. Always with the hot Cheetos too. Like
Love those hot Cheetos
today on purpose, because I'm like, man, I'm feeling like
That's
Judo
great,
Master.
Yeah. He loves those hot Cheetos. Yeah, I thought it was funny. There was this like very this person, you know, the people that can't help themselves on Twitter and always have to make something a controversy. But this person came up and was like, they really made Judo Master small. Like, how racist. And then the actor like retweeted it and was like, nope, I'm really that short.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be on the show and happy to be
Come on, man. You know, I mean,
I'm glad he's not dead though.
No,
I'm glad he's gonna come back.
He'll be back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was great. Well, I have one more topic, and it's something that we've covered everything I wanted to cover, but DC, I feel like this first foray into the DCEU was very successful on television. Yes. I think it was more successful in some ways than even what Marvel has done with their MCU shows. So I want to ask y'all, what is your dream DCEU spin-off project on HBO Max as a television series?
It's easy for me, man. I want to see Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke. I mean, I've said it for a long time now, man. It's canon. He's in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which obviously is canon to the James Gunn Suicide Squad era. So I don't know why they don't do it. You know, he's terrific. He's got the passion behind it. Anybody, I mean, they could. I'm not talking about Snyder. They can certainly get a lot of people to help write and direct that thing, and have that tie into it, and almost like having Assassins, like a little league here, because I do want to see Will Smith back.
Yeah,
and I loved Idris Elba in Suicide Squad. He was so good, man.
Yeah,
and the thought of somehow maybe getting those three gentlemen to be in the same project
Mhm.
I just that to me is what I want the most. I know we're gonna get some great stuff, but on a personal level, that's what I want.
Zeddy, I'm
What if-
still thinking. How about? Oh, sorry.
Oh,
John,
sorry. What if that project was Deathstroke, Bloodsport, and Deadshot all getting the same hit contract?
that would
And
be legendary.
it's like assassin versus assassin versus
I
assassin.
mean-
It could be super epic.
Josh, I don't know why they're not working on that right now.
Yeah.
To me, that's an
So
incredible
cool.
6-episode arc on HBO Max. I mean, you want to talk about star power, not for Joe, but for Idris and for sure for Will.
Yeah.
And-
You could even tie in. You could even make like Ra's al Ghul wanting to chase him down too, and
Sure.
involve the League of Assassins.
you could, Harley could cameo.
Yeah,
We might have
yeah.
our guy Gucci from the House of Gucci. What's
Oh, Jared
Leto.
Leto.
Listen,
Oh no!
that's a dream come
Don't get
true.
left in the
That's-
sauce.
That's a dream come
I
true.
just
project,
forgot
man.
about it.
Yeah.
Zeddy, give your dream
Ha-ha.
spin off because now I can't stop seeing. I can't stop seeing Paolo Gucci in my mind now.
I don't know what movie Jared Leto was in that film. It was like
Not that
I was so confused by that performance. I'm like, I was laughing every time he talked.
He was in Taika Waititi's House of Gucci that wasn't made, but Jared Leto was still
This
cast.
isn't what we do in the shadows.
Or what? He was in Taika's film that didn't happen, but he
And
was reprising his role.
And I've got to say, it was probably very insulting to Italian Americans.
Yeah,
With
'cause
the-
it's not like I was like, what is this guy doing? He literally is acting like he's Mario.
He's a method man.
Yeah, it was something. That was definitely something. I love that idea, Mr. C. I want to see that happen. Warner Brothers, hire me. I'll write it for you. That is a terrific idea. So, Nico, you have something on the tip of your
So
tongue.
I do. So when you say spin-off, it means something that is existing. Like I
Yep.
can't come up with a new one.
Mhm.
Okay, this would count. I really want, and this is because I think this character would be huge. You could do this as several characters, but for the lead character would be so huge on TV, and I think it would be the show that like can get every single audience member bought into. Is I want the Amazon show with Yara Flor as the main character.
Yes.
She's such a phenomenal character in the comic books right now. She's the best thing to come out of that future state idea. There was going to be the CW show that got canceled. Okay, that's fine. Let her be this young character and you pull her into Wonder Woman 3, just like they're doing with, how they introduced Monica Rambeau in WandaVision. They're introducing Miss Marvel in her own show, and they're going to pull both of them for Captain Marvel 2. Do the same thing for Yara for Wonder Woman 3.
Yeah.
And throw in Nubia, throw in them all if you want. Throw in
Yeah.
all of them, but let Yara be like the
Throw in Donna Troy if they
Oh,
want.
please
Ooh.
let Connor Leslie come back over.
Now you're talking.
You
Yeah.
wave.
Yeah,
Connor,
let
Connor.
let her be part of that Flash
Yeah. The whole
reorganization.
please,
She's
please.
Connor Leslie's terrific as Donna Troy. She's just like
Fantastic.
yeah, she's really really great. Yeah, I love that idea. That is one of my ideas for a spinoff of the Amazons. I think or Wonder Girls or Wonder Girl or whatever.
Yep.
It's the Amazons are such a rich like world to mine from. There's just so much to pull from in that world, and I think that it's just there. It's just sitting there for someone to take. I also think in that show you use the Flash because they keep bringing her back because she's just so terrific. Use the Flash to resurrect Robin Wright's character.
Oh yes, please.
Antiope.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of the show, because her and who plays Wonder Woman's mom?
Connie Nielsen.
She's outstanding.
She's great too, man.
She's outstanding. She's
Yep.
so great. They have great chemistry together as sisters. It's like they have to be like part of that show. And then there's also opportunity to sort of explore the gods, and all
Yes,
that
even
thing
more
as
so.
well.
Absolutely.
So there's like that corner of the DCEU is crying for that. So, Warner Brothers, if you're listening again, grab the four of us. We'll make it happen for you.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
I can't write, but I could tell you how the story should be, and then you make the script.
Right.
Zeddy, what about you? What do you want to see spun out of the DCEU on HBO Max in a series?
The thing I want to see is far years ahead. I'm just kidding. So of course I'm the greedy fan, right? So let me give a couple things here. So of course I do think Will Smith's Deadshot should be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I think he could definitely carry his own thing with somebody or alone. Either way, I think would be really, really cool. Might be future Oscar winner Will Smith. So Warner Brothers, you might want to get on that. Just saying. Something like a Mary Marvel spinoff could be really cool. I'm looking at like an Aqualad, a really high budget underwater thing could be really cool. Even throw Momoa in there. But the one thing, and I know it won't happen yet, it'll be a few months from now, but I think a Dr. Fate led show could be amazing, because if you're telling me that Doctor Strange is going to be one of the most important MCU characters, one of the most important Marvel characters in a few months, there's no reason why Dr. Fate can't shepherd the DC universe. So, pressure's going to be on there, because if men were allowed on Themyscira, trust me, I would be the only guy there. Stop it, Pete. Stop it. My God.
Zeddy's Angels.
Hey, I got one more real quick that I would love for them to see him to do. Is it would be so cool if they got together and they did the Wonder Twins.
Oh, that's happening. That is happening.
Oh, it is?
You're such a troll.
I'm just kidding, man.
I also think that while we're trolling, let's show once more. I think it would be great if they did a Green Lantern show. I think that would be great if they did one. I just
that show's good.
They take their time making it.
Why not Justice League Dark? Come on.
We all agree that that Green Lantern show seems like it's DCEU, right? It's sounding more and more like it's DCEU, right?
That's my hope and assumption.
I think they're waiting for the merger.
So do I. I think they're waiting for Flash. I think Flash has to happen for that to.
Me too.
To occur.
Yeah.
And that's
we know that's coming. And it's going to be. I'm just assuming that's going to be just incredible, and it's just time for that universe. Like
it's time for it to come back.
It's time for that Green Lantern universe to become relevant and important. And I still love Ryan Reynolds. I still love him as Hal Jordan. I mean, the movie's kind of crappy and the villain and all that kind of stuff, but I'm a Ryan Reynolds fan. I enjoy him. I thought he was good in the role, but hey, listen, it's gonna come at some point. I just like to tease this because it's almost like the Batman. Look, we're getting the Batman movie that was in talks for like 4 or 5 years, and we're going to see it in a few weeks. So.
Yeah.
But I'm older, I don't want this stuff to take forever, man. I want to see some of this stuff a little bit quicker.
Here's so I think that the Green Lantern show is DCU because Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart are not in it. And I think the reason they're not in it is because they're going to be the film Green Lanterns and they're going to have the other Green Lanterns be the TV Green Lanterns. But here's my idea for a Green Lantern movie. And this is because, all things being equal, I think Ryan Reynolds should return as Hal Jordan. I've said that before. I think they just forget about the old movie. Like he's actually kind of more perfect for Hal Jordan now, being a little bit older than he was before. But if they were to go out of the box with it, and hear me out. So Ant-Man established Hank Pym as played by Michael Douglas, with Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, right? And they made Hank Pym older, and they sort of established that kind of legacy in the MCU. So I had a thought, because the perfect Hal Jordan, I think, in the history of cinema of all time would be Harrison Ford, right? I mean, without a question. Harrison Ford... Young Harrison Ford in his prime would have been a great Hal Jordan.
Yes, absolutely right.
Yeah. So Here's an idea. What if they did, because they had such great chemistry in The Force Awakens, what if they made John Boyega
See, that would be cool.
John
Oh.
Stewart,
That is cool.
and then the storyline is in the DCEU, the Green Lantern film opens, and it opens during the Vietnam War. And Hal Jordan is a Air Force pilot with his friend who's a relative of Jon Stewart. And
Cool.
what happens is they come across, like, obviously it needs more work and stuff like that. There have to be set up and stuff. But they end up coming across, something happens, and they end up coming across Abin Sur's ship.
Yeah.
He gets the ring, and he disappears. And, like, Jon Stewart grows up his entire life hearing from, it'd probably have to be his grandfather, actually, at this point. But hearing about his best friend, Hal. And then Hal Jordan comes, and it's Harrison Ford as, like, an older Hal Jordan. But he's, like, having basically, like, I mean, I don't know all the particulars of, like, how it works in the comics, but I do know that there was a point where they had to double themselves. They had to be 2 lanterns per sector.
Yeah.
So what if that happened, and then Jon Stewart gets
That would be
selected
cool.
to be the Green Lantern? And it's sort of like, we get Hal Jordan, Harrison Ford, old Hal Jordan in the first one, that's thing, and he sacrifices himself at the end. And it's like Hal Jordan is the legacy character. That ring gets passed on to Jessica Cruz.
There's your hook.
Cruz.
The new Green Lantern. So that's my idea for the Green Lantern film franchise. I don't know if I necessarily want that, but it's like, it's a avenue that they could explore.
You guys know what 2814 is?
That's Earth.
That's the sector.
It's Sector 2814.
Okay.
Nobody wants Batman
That's
Beyond,
good.
huh? Shame on
I'm
y'all.
testing you
It
guys.
was so quick.
I know you
That's
knew.
how
I
you
know you knew.
That's
Jeff.
how you know.
Yeah.
So my choice, and this will be the last thing. We're running long. Just kidding. We're pretty good on time.
I'm on screen. Y'all will stay here. Trust me.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being on this long. We really appreciate it. But one of the thing that I would like to see, this is an idea that I came up with, is what if they did a Harley versus Harley series? They're introducing the multiverse, and you got Kaylee Cuoco, who's so great as the animated Harley Quinn. And what if they pulled her in and she became the live action version of the Kaylee Cuoco Harley Quinn? And her and Harley go on an adventure. Maybe like all the Jokers are being pulled in from all the various points of the universe, and they have to go and kill all the Jokers or something like that. I think that could be epic.
That would be funny. I would raise you if Cuoco couldn't do it. I think the next best person to play Harley, because if you go watch the way she does her voice in Mank, would be Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Unhinged Amanda Seyfried versus Margot Robbie. That could be fun, but I love your idea, Josh. That would be hilarious.
It could be something like you could have multiple Harley Quinns. It could be like Into the Spider-Verse with Harley Quinns, and you could just have all sorts of different ones. You could have the death metal Harley Quinn that has like the mohawk and or like the shaved head or whatever it is in the Scott Snyder story. But like just like make it kind of like a wild, zany, crazy story. And I would have James Gunn do it. Write and direct.
Sure.
Do a 6-episode mini series and like have him write and direct it. I think it would be terrific.
I think James Gunn pretty much can do what he wants. My only reservation about James Gunn is I don't think he's looking to touch too many main characters though. Which is cool.
Yeah,
which is maybe where it's at.
Be the frustrating part.
If he was doing the Wonder Twins, I might be a little more excited.
Pete Vera bringing in the Batwoman recommendation.
# watch Batwoman. I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
Rachel. Hey, I just realized Rachel Scarston. She played Dinah Lance in Birds of Prey back in the early 2000s. In that old show.
In the Birds of Prey, I didn't see that show either. Yeah.
Oh.
Not very memorable.
You didn't miss much.
Yeah.
Dinah Meyer or is her name Dinah Meyer? Dinah Meyer was great as Barbara Gordon. Actually,
Okay.
she was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's thing. But lots to look forward to in the DCEU. We have 4 films in the DCEU, and then of course the Batman establishing its own world. But we have Black Adam, we have the Flash, we have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and potentially Batgirl releasing at Christmas time.
Yes.
Lots to look forward to at the DCEU. But we are out of time. We've run very long. You have been so gracious to stay on super late with me. So I want to just give you guys an opportunity to do your plugs.
Everybody could find me at N. Caruso Jr. on Twitter.
You pointed to my name there.
There you go. And then you guys could plug the show. I'm with these guys all the time, man.
You gotta go first. Because you got the Vidge plug.
You
so
got
go
the
first.
Vidge, dude.
Okay.
You
That's
are
amazing.
vengeance. That's yours.
Oh man. All right. Thank you so much, Josh. As always a pleasure to talk to you, brother. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Nick Zennick, and most importantly, I would like you to do is follow Vigilante1939 on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel because that would be much appreciated, and you can find our show wherever else you get your podcast at. Thank you, guys.
And just as an extra incentive, I mean, you probably don't care what we have to say, and this isn't a brag. It's just if you want some more mutual thoughts on the Batman, we are very fortunate to be seeing it the day before the fan screening. So if you want some quick thoughts on it, we're going to be having those out that night and then early Tuesday morning, just to get you excited. Yep. Spoiler free. Just to get you excited. But as for me personally, you can follow me here at Nico Caruso, Twitter, Instagram, Leatherbox. And TikTok. I do film reviews on TikToks. Please follow the Italian Spider-Man Coalition. That's at Italians for Spidey. We do a Spider-Man themed show with Goomba Twist with our very good friend, Mr. Peter Vera, who is in the comments tonight from Straight Outta Gotham and Batman on Film. And then we also do a KISS podcast called Right Between the Eyes. That's at RBTE Podcast with drummer Rob Myers from Robin. Everyone loves the Drake. So we're all friends in this space. Josh, thank you so much for having us again.
Unbelievable.
Highlight of the week. And we talked about a lot of dope stuff. So I'm more excited about all this stuff than I was before the show. So you are the man and our favorite Niners fan.
Oh, well, you guys are my favorite Bears fans. And and my favorite people from Chicago. I'm going to come out and visit at some point. We should do a live show all together.
We're here.
Our door's open for you, pal.
We're here, brother. Man. We're here.
But we have got a lot of great stuff coming up on Super Secret HQ. We have got potentially so we definitely have a Batman show coming up. The Batman show, it's going to happen probably a week after I've seen it because of all of our friends have shows and it's hard to book time with people. But I'm going to have Mr. Eric Holtzman on that show, Justin Kowalski on that show, and my good pal Adam Basciano from we do Back to the Batcave together. So we're going to be doing that show together. TBD on the date and time. I don't have it in front of me, but we will be doing that show. And I'm potentially doing a show with my roommates and basically my brother-in-law about Euphoria. So be on the lookout for that.
We need a Euphoria
as an in-between. I want to keep current with the topics. So and it's really good this season. So potentially talking Tim, who's basically my brother-in-law. I haven't even asked him yet. So if you're listening to this,
he says
you want to come on my show. But yeah, it's sure to be exciting. And it's been a great season of television. Zendaya for like president. I don't know. She should
for everything. It just
she should just get everything. She's great. But anyways, great show, guys. Great to have you on, and we will see you next time.